So this is the first in my review series for my makeup. As you know, I am decluttering and kind of trying to purge my makeup addiction. So I'm starting by reviewing all my products, so this way I know what I really like and I have kind of a record, and I can really appreciate how much I have in my collection. So the first product I wanted to start out with is the Marc Jacobs Genius Gel Supercharged Foundation. This retails for $48. It contains 30 milliliters or 1 fluid ounce of product. It has a 12-month shelf life. It is made in France, and nowhere on the website does it mention if it's cruelty-free or vegan. This comes in 16 colors. I have the shade 34 Beige Medium. This is the 6th lightest shade available. There are 16 shades. However, I would really only call 5 of them on the darker end of the spectrum and 3 only truly dark shades. So the website claims this is natural to full coverage, anti-aging, long-wearing, and has antioxidant vitamin properties. It also claims to be radiant and clarifying on the skin. So my thoughts on the product, first let's start with the packaging. It comes with a pump, which is A+. It's a pretty solid jar, just says Marc. The little pump turns and it has like a hollow lid that just snaps on, pretty secure. And then all the information about the product is on the bottom, which is nice, so you know your shade and all that stuff. It's a very luxurious packaging type. I really like the packaging. As for the product, it's the consistency itself. So if I pump somehow on my hand, as you can see, it's very much a watery gel. It's not very thick. And when you kind of spread it out, it has a more thin consistency. It's not by any means patchy. It's just kind of jelly. It has a very strong chemical smell, and it looks like that spread out on the hand. As you can probably see from the lighting, I have a very late light situation going on right now, and it casts a lot of shine. For something that's supposed to be natural kind of finish, it's very shiny, so I would almost say it's glowy. It is long wearing and it is very comfortable. It feels very smooth, very natural on the skin, so I do like that. It is a buildable foundation, so the more you put on, the more coverage you get, which is really nice. However, it does tend to be streaky. Just the way I've applied it, I've never managed to have a completely streak-free or patch-free application. I tend to apply it with a brush and then pat it with the Beauty Blender to kind of get the most even coverage possible. It is very light, it's very airy. I like the foundation. It's good for people who have medium to, I wouldn't want to say dry skin, because if you have dewy or oily skin, it is going to cast too much of a glow. So I have oily skin and you can kind of see. So I just turned up the light, and as you can see, I've had this on for maybe an hour or two, and it is casting a fair amount of shine on my face. This is just with a desk lamp. So that is a concern. It doesn't produce more oil throughout the day, which is good, but it does get very, very shiny. So it will stay the same shine consistency as when you first apply it. So if you try it out at the store and you apply it and it looks shiny, it's not going to get more shiny. Another issue with this for me is it doesn't powder down well. If you apply any powder on top to set it, it will look cakey. So I have the Laura Mercier translucent powder. I've tried it with the Urban Decay baked translucent powder, and both make it look cakey when set, just even with a light dusting. So you really can't set it with a translucent powder, which is unfortunate for me because I do have oily skin. I prefer, to get that natural matte look, I prefer less shine. It also does not cover bumps or texture at all. So if you look on my skin here, as you can probably see, I have a lot of acne texture, and it does not hide that at all. Any form of discoloration, it also does not hide. Normally I have to wear it with a concealer. For today, I'm not wearing any concealer at all, so you can see what it looks like without concealer. It does blend nicely with concealers and such like that, so that's not an issue if you're okay with concealers, but I prefer my foundations to cover this as I have it all the time. It also, something in this formula tends to cause me to have more acne. It doesn't actively break me out. Like if I apply it all over my face, it will only get worse in problem areas. It does make it worse. It doesn't make it any clearer or anything like that. So there is something in here that may cause issues if you have sensitive skin. So as an example of how I apply this, I normally apply this with my Sephora brush. This is the Mineral Powder 45 brush. It has a dense tip. Looks kind of like that. This has pretty dense fibers. And so I like this because it would probably also apply well with an artiste brush. Because the foundation tends to be streaky, you want the dense coverage to try to like buff it in as much as possible. It does work well if you buff it. I have tried it also with a flat foundation brush. This is very hard to use with it because it gets very, very streaky. The only time a flat foundation brush has worked for me with this product is if I went in afterwards with my beauty blender, sorry, this one's a little bit dirty, and kind of buffed out the spots that were streaky. I would not recommend applying this solely with a beauty blender, even though it does get streaky otherwise, because beauty blender dilutes the product and kind of causes it to be a little bit patchy and has an even more sheer coverage. So if you're looking for a sheer coverage foundation, then this with a beauty blender would work. But if you're looking for a natural to buildable coverage foundation, that is not the way to go. It's a stretch to call this a full coverage foundation. I would definitely say it is more on the natural side. Take that as you may. I would recommend this foundation if you're looking to do more of a no makeup look, something that's a little more light, where you're not trying to hide imperfections. It turns out really nicely when on its own. I would also recommend using a cream blush with this foundation, as it does have a kind of translucent gel finish, and that's really nice with the translucency of a cream blush. Powder blushes do the same thing, where I'm wearing a powder blush now and you can tell it's a little bit cakey in those areas. I'm also wearing a powder contour, and you can clearly see that there is a difference in texture from that area. What this foundation does work well with is highlight. I'm wearing a fair bit of highlight on my cheekbones and the bridge of my nose right now, and that is a really nice way to do this foundation. So if you like a very dewy, very highlighty look, this foundation will be great. If you're like me and prefer more coverage, a little bit more matte because you're oily skinned, maybe not the foundation for you. Overall, I would say it is not worth the price. You get very little product in here. You only get 1 fluid ounce, and it takes quite a lot to build it up. I used 2 pumps on my face today to get this level of coverage, and as you can see, it's not covering everything. So I would lean towards saying very, very, very pricey. If you really like that very nice, natural, shiny, dewy finish, if you want something with anti-aging properties, which I cannot speak to whether this has or has not, then maybe go for it. Keep in mind though that it does smell a little chemically. It will not apply smoothly all the time, and it's just kind of a overall average foundation. I actually prefer some drugstore foundations far over this, and those are 10, 18 bucks. The L'Oreal Lumi Cushion, I would say, has comparable coverage, and I like that a little bit more. And that is my review of the Marc Jacobs Genius Gel. Thank you for watching.